Il y a une élection partielle en Ontario la semaine prochaine. On sait que c'est la première depuis que votre chef a été élu. Est-ce que vous voyez ça comme un test pour lui?
Bien, je crois que chaque élection est un défi pour les partis, puis on veut évidemment avoir une victoire. Maintenant, c'est à voir comment ça va finir, mais est-ce que c'est un test pour notre chef? Pas nécessairement. Je veux dire, la circonscription est depuis longtemps libérale, donc pour nous de la gagner, ça serait une grande victoire évidemment, mais en même temps, là, on a le défi de faire les opérations, de convaincre les citoyens de voter pour nous, comme n'importe quelle élection. On
a, à Radio-Canada, dévoilé le fait que la GRC a octroyé un contrat à une entreprise qui a des liens avec la Chine. Oui. Vous réagissez comment
très grave,
à ça?
Très, très grave. Écoutez, c'est encore une fois, je ne peux pas comprendre pourquoi le gouvernement du Canada transige avec des entreprises reliées au régime communiste chinois, surtout pour des pièces électroniques qui sont sensibles, comme les pièces qui sont dans les systèmes de communication de la GRC. C'est incroyable. C'est des systèmes qui doivent être, des communications qui doivent être gardées très secrètes. Et là, on a des pièces intégrées directement. On doit même envoyer les fréquences à la compagnie pour qu'elles soient programmées. Ça ne fait aucun sens pour nous. On va voir ce qu'on va faire avec ça. Mais évidemment, là, la première question, c'est pourquoi est-ce que le gouvernement du Canada a fait cet achat-là?
Considérant que les Américains ont barré cette entreprise-là.
Puis j'ai vécu la même situation il y a 2-3 ans avec la compagnie Noctec. On avait un enjeu du même genre. Le gouvernement du Canada avait fait affaire avec Noctec, une compagnie chinoise, pour des systèmes de détection dans les ambassades canadiennes à travers le monde. On a soulevé l'enjeu. Moi-même, je l'ai fait au comité. Finalement, le gouvernement a reculé. On a cessé cet achat-là. Là, maintenant, aujourd'hui, on arrive avec des pièces électroniques hyper critiques dans les systèmes de communication. Je ne peux pas comprendre pourquoi on fait ça.
Merci beaucoup. Merci. Bonne journée.
Okay, so there is a story about the RCMP doing a contract with a Canadian company that is owned by a Chinese company that has state involvement, and it's to supply RCMP radios. So they have to share their frequencies, for example, of the PM security detail and so on with this Chinese-owned company. What are your thoughts on that?
This is incomprehensible that a government that says that it's taking national security seriously, just last week they came out with significant announcements that said that they were going to get serious about Canadian security. This violates every reasonable thought that any person would have when it comes to national security. We know that there has been efforts by Beijing officials to intervene in terms of our elections, in terms of our security forces, in terms of our business. The government is now bringing that into the RCMP. It's unimaginable. It's unthinkable.
So what should happen with that contract and with any technology that's already been applied?
Well, it should immediately be under review. I believe that there is absolutely no ability for the government to get any assurance that they should trust, and all that technology should be stripped out. The contract should be thrown away, and the government needs to get serious about national security.
And so, in terms of not repeating this kind of mistake in the future, what kind of action would you like?
Well, I'd like the government to actually get serious about national security. When they see a Beijing-connected telecommunications firm that's looking to contract with security officials here in Canada, I think that should be a warning sign, and the contract shouldn't even be considered.
Okay, thanks. Could you share with your colleagues a little point? We are often asking questions that they would like to answer, but they don't stop long enough to answer this, you know?
Right on.
Okay, thanks.
Perfect. Thanks. Good morning.
I wanted to talk about the radio contract.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, what do you make of the fact that the contract was signed in the first place with a Chinese government-affiliated company?
Yeah, it's really unbelievable. The government has verbally tried to suggest that they understand some of the risks associated with national security vis-a-vis the Chinese Communist Party, but there is a consistent pattern of their actions completely contradicting their words. In their actions, the government is totally oblivious to these security risks, and it's part of a pattern. We saw with Nuke and the deal with embassies that was proposed. We see now with this. It is unbelievable to me that the government still isn't seized with the risk involved here. So it's very shocking. At the same time, it is consistent with the way this government has behaved for a long time.
And what do you think should happen with both the contract and with any equipment that's already been purchased?
Well, I mean, first of all, this never should have happened, and I think the government now needs to undertake a review of where everything is at and what can be walked back. But our national security has to be paramount, and we have to be able to give RCMP the confidence that the equipment they're working with is secure. So clearly there has to be an unraveling. The government has to undo any element that created risks, and they have to do a serious review of how this happened. But I'll say again, I mean, I'm very concerned about the pattern we've seen from this Liberal government, consistently showing capricious disregard for our national security, especially as it relates to the risks of foreign interference, and continuing to fail to be transparent around issues like which 11 candidates receive support from the Chinese government. So capricious disregard for our security and a lack of transparency.
So you mentioned NUTEC, and I think in that contract, and I know in this one, there was no security requirement. There were no checks on that. What kind of a change would you like to see to break that pattern, or what kind of new rules do you think there should be to prevent this kind of contract?
Yeah, it's just crazy in the world today, given all that we know, that these kinds of contracts would not have some kind of security review. So at a minimum, we need to have our security experts looking at any of these kinds of deals, certainly where there's Chinese state-owned companies or state-affiliated companies that are involved. Certainly, anytime we're dealing with sensitive equipment involving access to embassies, RCMP, border services, etc. We need to get serious about this stuff. Finally, the government's shifting some of the words around, but they continue with this pattern of outrageous disregard for our national security. It's unbelievable, and we need to really see serious practical changes from the government.
And the last question, this story was broken by Radio Canada, which found out about this particular contract, this particular equipment. Are you concerned that there might be other things out there already installed, like what we saw in the embassies, like what we see with these radios, but that has not yet been reported on, but are somehow diverting information to China?
Absolutely. I would be very concerned about the fact that we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg here. We see a pattern in many areas where there is this lack of regard for our national security, a seeming lack of awareness of the long-standing significant threat from foreign state-backed interference in this country. And if these are the elements that we're seeing because of work done by journalists and others, then there likely are elements that we're not seeing. And this is why we need a government that takes national security seriously, both when people are looking and when they're not looking.
Do you speak French, Karen?
Un peu, oui.
Okay.
Je peux expliquer.
OK. Bon, la même question en français. La première question, qu'est-ce que vous pensez de ce contrat?
Oui, c'est un grand concern pour nous. Le gouvernement a démontré temps à temps qu'ils n'avons pas le compétence sur les questions de sécurité nationale. Nous avons un grand problème au Canada avec l'interférence par les États foraines qui n'avaient pas la même valeur, et le gouvernement a essayé de dire le mot corrigé sur ces problèmes de temps en temps, mais en effet, en réalité, nous avons vu que le gouvernement n'a pas fait l'action nécessaire.
Et qu'est-ce qu'on doit faire maintenant?
Maintenant, nous avons besoin d'un gouvernement qui va protéger les Canadiens, qui comprennent la réalité et les risques qui sont posés par l'interférence foraine.
Merci.
Thank you.
Mr. Motz, can I ask you a question about C-21 and the amendments?
Yes.
So Minister Mendicino talked this morning about maybe one of the fixes or changes would be to use this exemption provision that's I just saw your eyebrow go up there.
Mr. Mendicino doesn't know what he's talking about.
Why not?
Will you listen to him?
But do you see a way to fix this without withdrawing all of the amendments, or is that, for you, that's it?
Get rid of the amendments, period. That's what needs to happen. It's a mess. They know it's a mess. Just scrambling now to save face, and it's not going to work.
Thank
That's my
you.
side.